They said, love makes people do crazy things, but no one in town was as crazy in love as John and Cynthia. They weren't just any couple, they were the couple. The ones who laughed too loud, spent too much, and loved each other like the world would end tomorrow. John was a successful car dealer, tall, handsome, and charming, with enough money to make problems disappear. Cynthia was a professional hairstylist, known not just for her beauty but for her boldness. She could walk into any room and make every head turn. Together, they were unstoppable. They didn't follow the rules of marriage, they created their own. They believed love should be wild, not routine. So while other couples planned for children, John and Cynthia made a promise: no babies. They said children would steal the love meant for them alone. To them, life was meant to be lived loudly, freely, and without apology. Every evening, while others closed their shops or went home to rest, John and Cynthia were just getting started. They would dress like royalty, step into their flashy cars, and drive out looking for adventure. Sometimes it was a nightclub, sometimes it was a fancy bar, and other times it was just a quiet street where they'd stop a stranger and say, "Hi, we're John and Cynthia. Want to join our fun tonight?" At first, people thought it was a joke, but when they saw the money, the laughter, and the life in their eyes, they couldn't resist. John and Cynthia loved to play games, not the innocent kind, but games that tested people's limits. Their favorite was Truth or Dare, and every night came with a new twist. The rules were simple: tell a secret or do something wild. Either way, John and Cynthia made sure everyone left richer and a little more confused about what just happened. They were generous to a fault. Anyone who agreed to follow them home was rewarded handsomely with cash, gifts, or even car keys. Word spread fast. People started calling them the crazy couple with money. Hustlers, students, and young dreamers all wanted a chance to meet them, not for love, but for what came after the laughter. But what no one knew was that behind their smiles and games, something deeper was brewing. Their love was wild, but also dangerous. They had everything: money, beauty, and passion, but they were searching for something they couldn't name. Something darker. Something that would one day turn their laughter into silence. Because love like theirs never fades quietly. It explodes. That night started like every other crazy night for John and Cynthia. They had money, they had wine, and they had the hunger for adventure. The city lights danced on their car as they cruised through the lonely streets, laughing like children with no worries in the world. Then, on one quiet street corner, Cynthia saw her, a young, beautiful hustler standing by the roadside in a red dress that glowed under the streetlight. Cynthia smiled and whispered, "She looks perfect for tonight." John slowed down the car. A few minutes later, the girl was in the back seat, giggling and counting the crisp notes Cynthia had placed in her hand. They took her home, offered her drinks, music filled the room, and soon the games began. But something was off. She wasn't giving them the wild energy they wanted. She was quiet, nervous, and cold. After a while, Cynthia frowned. "This one's no fun." she said. Let's just take her back. And so, just like that, they drove her back to the roadside, gave her another note, and sped off laughing again, like nothing happened. But that laughter didn't last long. That night, their hearts burned for something new, something different. So they said, let's try a guy tonight. That was the night they met Samuel. He was tall, confident, and handsome. The kind of man who carried danger in his smile. He joked, he drank, and soon he blended into their madness like he had always been part of it. At home, they played Truth or Dare, took shots of tequila, and screamed with laughter. The night was alive. But around 3 a.m., Samuel suddenly went quiet. His head dropped to the side. At first, they thought he was drunk. Cynthia nudged him playfully. Hey, Sam, wake up! No response. John tried shaking him. Still nothing. Minutes passed. Then the truth sank in. Samuel wasn't breathing. Cynthia froze. Her glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. John, he's not moving. They tried again and again. Cold water, slaps, panic. But Samuel just lay there, lifeless. The couple stood there, trembling. The laughter that once filled their home was now replaced with silence and fear. What do we do now? Cynthia whispered. John's voice was shaky. We can't call the police. They'll never believe us. And so, they did the unthinkable. They wrapped Samuel's body in a sheet, carried him to the car, and drove into the darkness. The city lights faded behind them. They drove for miles until they reached the outskirts of town, a lonely bush where no one ever passed at night. Under the pale moonlight, John grabbed a shovel and began to dig. Cynthia stood beside him, shaking and crying. The deeper the hole, the heavier the silence. Finally, they buried Samuel, covered him with sand, and just like that, it was over. Or so they thought. Because hidden behind the trees, someone was there recording everything. From the moment they dug the ground to when they drove away in silence. By the time they got home, Cynthia's hands were cold and John couldn't sleep. They said nothing to each other. Only the sound of the clock filled the house. Days passed. Weeks too. They tried to move on, returning to their old life of nightclubs and laughter. Cynthia went shopping for new girls. John hit the gym for new guys. But no matter what they did, it wasn't the same. The games felt empty. The thrill was gone. They both missed the danger, the rush, the madness that came with their roadside adventures. One evening, Cynthia said, "It's been weeks. Nobody knows. Let's go back, just one more time." John hesitated. What if someone remembers us? She laughed softly. Come on. These hustlers see hundreds of people every week. They won't even recognize us. So they took the risk. They dressed up, drove out, and returned to the same area. Soon, they found another man, muscular, good-looking, and bold. He leaned through the window and said, "I hope Una get my money, oh." John smiled and handed him a bundle of cash. But just as he collected it, the man paused. His eyes narrowed. Wait. Una face de familiar, oh. Cynthia's smile faded. The man continued. No be Una, carry one of our guys go 2 weeks ago. Since then, we never see em again. We're him day. Cynthia's heart skipped. Her voice trembled as she snapped. Excuse me. I don't know what you're talking about. Then she turned to John, forcing a smile. Honey, let's go. John started the car immediately. The tires screeched as they sped off into the night, their laughter gone, replaced by the sound of their racing hearts. For the first time since their wild love began, fear had entered their hearts. As they sped home that night, Cynthia's hands trembled on her lap. Oh my God, honey, that was so scary, she whispered. John kept his eyes on the road, jaw tied, pretending to be calm. But deep inside, his heart was pounding like a drum. For days, neither of them spoke about what happened. The memory of that hustler's words haunted them. They needed to clear their minds. So, John and Cynthia packed their bags and flew off to a beautiful island far from home. Delia's beaches, palm trees dancing to the wind, and sunsets that melted into gold. They laughed again. They drank wine under the stars. They took countless pictures, kissed on the beach, and for a moment, it felt like the nightmare was behind them. Until one afternoon, Cynthia's phone buzzed. She smiled, thinking it was one of her clients. But the moment she opened the message, her smile vanished. Her hands went cold. John, she whispered, her voice shaking. Look at this. John snatched the phone. His face went pale. It was a video of them digging a pit and burying Sam. Before he could say a word, her phone rang. Unknown number, John answered, voice trembling. Who the hell is this? Name your price. A deep, calm voice laughed on the other end. Name your price, RB? You think this is a game? Come back from your vacation if you know what's good for you. Let's talk business. The line went dead. Cynthia broke down, sobbing. John, what do we do? We can't run forever. Their beautiful vacation ended that night. They caught the first flight home, each minute on the plane feeling like a lifetime. The moment they landed, they called the mysterious number again. John tried to sound brave. We're back. Name your price. The voice chuckled. Good. I want 20 million tomorrow morning, before noon. If you waste my time, I'll post the video everywhere. Cynthia fell to her knees. Please, don't. I'm begging you. We'll bring the money. Just don't post it. The next morning, John and Cynthia drove out before dawn, carrying a black bag filled with cash. They dropped it at the location as instructed, an abandoned warehouse outside town. When they got home, they called the man again. We've done our part. Please, delete the video. Done? The voice replied casually, then hung up. For days, the couple lived freely again. They laughed. They went back to their nightlife, their truth or dare games, their wild fun. They thought the nightmare was over, but 3 days later, Cynthia's phone rang again. If you know wedding good for you, the voice said coldly, carry 100 million come the usual spot. Else, you go see yourself on every blog before evening. Cynthia froze. Her phone fell from her hand. John's face went blank. They had no choice. They paid again. But that wasn't the end. The more they paid, the more the blackmailer demanded. John's business began to crumble. Cynthia's salon lost clients. They couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think. They were prisoners to a ghost they couldn't see. Until one evening, broken and exhausted, John looked at Cynthia and said, Enough. We can't live like this anymore. They walked into a police station and told the whole story from their secret games to Sam's death to the blackmail. The police swung into action immediately. And what they discovered shocked everyone. Sam was still alive. It turned out Sam had taken something that night, a drug that made him sleep for hours, slowing his heartbeat until he looked lifeless. His friend, Mr. Anonymous, whose real name was Joshua, had followed John and Cynthia that night on a bicycle. He hid behind the bushes, filming everything. The moment the couple drove off, Joshua dug up the pit and pulled Sam out. Together, they began blackmailing the couple, milking them for millions. But now, the game was over. Sam, Joshua, and their other accomplices were arrested. They were sentenced to 5 years in prison. John and Cynthia were also charged for attempted murder and illegal disposal of a body. They served 3 months before being released on probation. During those 3 months behind bars, everything changed. Cynthia prayed for the first time in years. John cried silently one night, whispering, "God, please help us start again." When they were finally released, the first place they went wasn't the club, it was church. "Dear God," Cynthia prayed aloud, "I don't know how to pray well, but I'll learn. My husband doesn't know either, but we'll both learn. Please forgive us. Please change us." They meant every word. From that day, they left their old life behind. They rebuilt their businesses with honesty. They focused on love, real love, and soon their greatest miracle came. Cynthia got pregnant. When their baby arrived, John couldn't stop crying. At the church dedication, they both lifted their baby high and said, "God, this child is our second chance. We will never go back." And indeed, they never did. Their love story, once fueled by madness, became a testimony of mercy and redemption. In life, the choices we make in the name of fun can come back to haunt us. What starts as pleasure can end in pain when there are no boundaries. John and Cynthia had everything: money, love, and happiness, but their desire for thrill almost destroyed them. No matter how far you go, remember, true joy is never found in reckless living, but in peace, self-control, and a clear conscience. Don't let the excitement of the moment make you forget the consequences of tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling and inspiring stories. Stay tuned, because as usual, more exciting stories are coming your way. Bye for now.